I think that we remove shame around infertility in 2026 today by just rooting yourself in God. And what
That's
do I
right.
mean? I know that sounds very simple, right? But it has been life changing for me, right? I remember at a time in my life where I was obsessed
Yeah.
with becoming pregnant and like figuring out like, what do I need to do to, make sure that this happens. And so on my journey or on my Christian journey, I realized that like God is it. He is enough. If my desire, me and my husband's desire are to have children.
Right.
I need to know though that if I never actually birth or create life within myself, that this is my life is anchored in God's hand.
Right.
And so this is my story. I anchor myself in knowing that God knows everything and I am in alignment with him. And so because these things are true, I will wait on his time.
That's right.
And so I don't feel as anxious. I don't have any shame because I know that I am in the palm of God's hands. I know that my story is being written. And so that anxiety, that fear of like being left or being left out is no longer present because I just trust in God's design for my life.
Hey girlies, welcome back to our channel. I'm Zelina.
I'm Tamika.
And you are now tuned in to Seasoned Sisters podcast, where sisterhood, real talk, and biblical truth collide.
Don't forget to like this video, comment down below what you enjoyed about today's episode, share, and most importantly, subscribe.
That's right. And if you prefer to listen to us on the go, we're also available on all podcast platforms.
If you want to see even more of us, check us out on all social media platforms at Seasoned Sisters _.
And if our ministry has blessed you in any way and you feel led to give, you can always do so on our website. Also on our website are all the ways you can keep up with us. We have our newsletter. We have our prayer request tab. We have all of our merch drops.
Don't forget the events.
And also all of our partnerships.
All right, sis. Let's jump into today's topic.
Make sure you get your Bibles and however you take notes and meet us right back here. This week's episode is going to be too good.
Too good.
All right, y'all.
Hey, y'all. That voice. Oh, my Lord. Okay.
We coming up on the end of Women's
Yeah.
Month. So today, I'm excited about this episode.
Yeah.
I know we did a rendition. Is that the right word?
Rendition is perfect. Yeah.
Let's go a rendition.
Yeah.
We did a rendition of this episode like when we first started out.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Season 1.
Yeah, back in the day. But I'm really excited to do this episode because I believe that this episode is very necessary.
Yeah.
We got to take better care of ourselves.
I agree.
So I hope that after we do this episode that the girlies will be intrigued to start going to the doctor and asking more questions. Yeah. I'm really excited. Let's get into it.
Let's go.
I hope that they're going to see a different side of me at least.
Yeah. Dr. Zelina. Yeah. I think this is going to be a really good one and they're going to get a lot of valuable information.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm excited about digging in.
So you got some notes.
She all in my business. Okay. Let's go. I can't with you.
Before we get started, like we're saying, I think that it's really important that women take better care of our bodies. I know for women specifically, we like to take care of everyone else but ourselves. And so we thought that it would be really important for us to just touch on this a little bit. We're going to try to weave in some biblical principles, but this is going to be a very practical episode. Yeah. And so, we're just going to do some girl talk.
Dive in.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go.
Why does caring for our physical body matter spiritually, sis?
So spiritually, caring for our physical body is important because, just off the bat, it is a creation of God. And so we have to acknowledge that our body is not like just this disposable or useless thing, right? That it was intentional. God created us the way that he created us, and it is all with purpose. A lot of times when we're talking about the body or we're talking about the body as a temple, we usually use the scripture in 1 Corinthians. Everyone knows it, but when Paul is writing and he says to keep your body as a holy temple, right? I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly the words, but it was 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 where he's talking about the body and keeping it as a temple. And at that time, the context has a lot to do with like sexual immorality, right?
Yeah.
Like keeping yourself to yourself. But I think it's important that we can apply that scripture to all parts of our life, including taking care of our health of our body, basically. So I think that caring for our body, our physical bodies is spiritual because in Jewish texts and even in the Bible, we see that the temple is where God would meet his creation, his people. This is where he would meet with them. And so if we're taking that into a literal sense, or into a sense that we can apply today, our temple is going to be what's used to kneel, to worship, to give praise, to meet with God in another place. And so we want to be in a position, we want to be in good health so that we can't be hindered in using the body to worship God. I just have one more point. I didn't think about this so much until we had to do this study, sis, but there is like kind of a notion in pop culture that like the body is just embodying the soul. Like it's just a like a shell for the soul. And so while we do have a soul, while we do have a spirit, right, it's important to distinguish that your body is still important, even though it is housing what God has placed inside of you. And so I think that kind of notion, like, oh, it's just a shell, gives people the right or the freedom to just do whatever they want with it. And that's not the case. God expects us to upkeep what he has given us, even though it is protecting what's on the inside. The expectation is that you will still use the body to its full potential and not abuse it just because it's a shell.
That's good. Which leads me to my point. Let's talk stewardship.
Yeah.
Stewardship is a spiritual principle.
Right.
In scripture, stewardship means managing something that belongs to God.
That's right.
And so we've talked about this on multiple episodes. We know universally we talk about this stewarding money well, stewarding time well, stewarding things like giftings well, right? But we tend to exclude our physical bodies,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
Our bodies affect clarity to discern.
That's good.
Our physical bodies affect mental health.
That's good.
Our physical bodies affect carrying children.
Right.
Our physical bodies affect our hormonal stability. So ignoring physical health can prevent us from being able to fully function, can prevent us from being able to serve well.
That's good.
Now there has to be a balance, because we know that health is stewardship, not obsession. And
That's
so we have to make sure that we take care of the other extreme, right? There's a difference. Caring for your body, there's a difference between caring for your body and worshiping your body, right? Because in 2026, we know that people love to idolize appearance and performance, right? So health as stewardship says, I care for my body so that I may be able to do what God is calling me to do, so that I may be able to serve well. But health as obsession says, I care for my body so that I may look good. I care for my body so that I can be admired, right? And so there's a difference between motives. And so I think if we focus on, I care for my body because I'm supposed to steward my body well, that means that we are caring for our physical bodies, because we know that this is how we are supposed to care for our bodies in a matter of spirituality.
There we go. That's good. That's good, sis. Good.
All right.
Good. You said everything I would have said. Okay, so let's go to the next question. How have women been conditioned to ignore their own needs while caring for everyone else? So
the first one I'll go into is the martyr's mindset, right? So good women sacrifice everything. So I think that many women were raised to believe that a good woman should endure. Yeah. So a good wife pushes through. A good mother never complains. And so these are the ones that say like, oh, you know what? I have severe period pain, but that's okay. We'll just call it normal. Or, you know what? I have severe period cramping. I have severe abdominal pain, but there's women that have gone through far more pain than I have gone through. So it's okay. I'll just push through. These are the people that have been conditioned to think that these things are normal because of the way that they've been brought up. Also burnout culture. So productivity over peace. So today's culture, we know, because we live in today's culture. Today's culture praises busy women. So if you're working, if you're grinding, if you're doing all the things, you're known as admirable. But if you are resting, you're considered lazy. You're considered unmotivated. And so women start to measure their worth based off of the things that they're doing, based on off of what they can get done. And so they're so busy doing things to get work done that doctor's appointments and things like that get pushed back. And so that's how burnout can be normalized.
That's true, 100%, sis. And you were saying something at the beginning of your statement about how women are conditioned and they're brought up. And I want to speak to directly a church culture, if you were growing up in church, and obviously not all churches, sis, but I'm just speaking about how it can be seen. I remember growing up in a fairly small church, and I remember feeling or seeing that like a lot of the women would take up the roles that came to like cleaning the church or preparing or hospitality or taking care of the children or, you know, things like that. And I'm not saying that these women didn't do it with a smile on their face or they didn't feel fulfilled in doing it, but I also did feel like it was naturally handed to, like you were expected to. And these women were praised for their diligence in doing these things and sacrificing. You would hear so many times, oh, sister so-and-so left her house at this time to be here at this time so that she could, you know what I'm saying? And so to your point, sis, because you said it so beautifully, what I would have said. So to your point, sis, this is how we can be groomed into thinking that, okay, if I'm visible, if I'm busy, if I'm always working at a thing, people will think that I'm valuable or I'll get worship for it. And this is my way of taking care of something. And so the motive may not be very filthy, right, or muddy, but we are forgetting our own vessel. We're forgetting ourselves. And that's where the problem comes in.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, sis, because I feel like we should separate that one from the example that I was talking about in the beginning, right? We should separate that one because that one is a stigma in church. Women are they're the leader, they're the worship leader, they're the mentor, they're the ones that's doing all the cooking and right. And it's usually like the same leaders that are doing everything. Right. And then nobody ever asked them if they're okay. Right. Nobody ever asked them if they were able to take a few days off and go to get their doctor's appointments done. It always falls on the same person. The same couple of people are being asked to do everything. And so they never have time to get any of their appointments done or take care of their mental health or physical health. And then before you know it,
right, it's very far down into the process. And so we shouldn't be neglecting the temple, the body that God actually gave us. And that's the point that Sis and I are trying to make. Instead of filling up your time with trying to be used and feel like you are being used, we should also make time to take care of the body. How you gonna keep on working if you ain't got no health?
That's right.
So we have to make sure that we are good to go.
That's right. And the last one I want to talk about is the strong Black woman narrative. Now, this one is touchy, but this one I feel like we need to talk about as well, because this one is born out of survival. This is the one where, we always had to be resilient. We always had to have faith. We always had to, make sure that we were strong, right? But when strength becomes identity, vulnerability feels like weaknesses. So we're the ones that are always like, oh, you can handle it. You always have. Right. But we're the ones that suffer in silence. We're the ones that don't say anything. And so it becomes like, crazy.
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy at all. And I think also in the Black community, it's you suffer in silence. Nobody ever says anything. And it also comes down to awareness as well, because we're suffering in silence, because nobody ever talks about anything. A lot of Black women don't know a lot.
There we go. Because they're thinking that this is the way it's supposed to be. Like, this is normal, right? No one else is alarmed by how much I'm working, so this is expected.
Exactly. Oh, or my grandmother had these pains and she never said anything about it. She suffered in silence. So I think this is normal that I'm having these pains. These are probably just normal pains. And so it goes on over generation and generation, and these things are normalized.
Right. Whole time it needs to be a mindset shift that there needs to be
Or, my grandma had this issue and, she never complained about it. And now she sees me going through the pain. And if I complained about it, she says, oh, I dealt with that for 20 years. Don't complain about that pain,
Right. So minimizes your actual struggle.
That's the one.
Oof.
That's the one.
That's deep, sis. Okay.
All right. Let's go into the next section.
Okay.
How does chronic stress affect women's hormone cycles and long-term health? I love this question.
Yeah, I knew you would love this question because it's very scientific, very science related. We know that the body is very interconnected and it works to help each other out. Sometimes some parts of our body will be trying to supplement for a weak part in our body. And so in this situation or in this specific question, we know that chronic stress actually it actually starts up cortisol. That's not the word. Activates the body's cortisol. And so we know that cortisol is like a stress reacting hormone. And it's supposed to be like for short spurts, kind of fight or flight, kind of like make a decision and then stop. But when we're living under this chronic stress, this cortisol is constantly pumping, constantly trying to calm down our nervous system. And that is what actually causes the danger. It's living in that state for way too long. It disrupts our hormonal balance. and it causes other side effects that can be very detrimental to us. And so step one, I would say, is that chronic stress can affect your hormonal cycle because you're pushing out too much of one hormone that your body is now trying to figure out what to do with that.
And so before you go on,
Yes.
sis, I just want everybody to understand
Yes.
that what you're saying is cortisol is a stress hormone.
Right.
And so what sis is saying, that it's normal that everyone has stress.
That's right.
And so if the cortisol is being released, right, in short spurts, it is normal, right? But most women are undergoing stress all the time.
Yeah.
And so just imagine cortisol levels being released in your body on a constant basis.
Yeah.
This is where the problem lies.
Right.
It's not that the cortisol is being released in your body
Right.
over a short time.
Right.
Right. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Every once in a while.
Right.
That's normal.
Right.
But most women are going through stress all the time. Financial pressure, right? That's stressful.
Oh, yeah.
Relationship tension.
Yeah.
That's stressful. Trauma history, overworking.
Jeez.
A lot of women are caretakers, right?
Right.
Over their parents,
Right.
over, a spouse,
Right.
over a special needs child,
Right.
Lack of sleep. Just think about all of the stress that women are constantly under every day. And so because a lot of women are under such stress every day, that means their body is constantly being overloaded with cortisol on a daily basis. That is where the problem lies, because your body is not supposed to be constantly overloaded with this stress hormone.
Wow.
That is where the problem is.
Wow. That was really good, sis. I'm so happy you went back and because that's very powerful. I think
That is the problem.
and people who are misinformed thinking that this is just a way to live,
Right.
hopefully that this can resonate
Right.
with them. Yeah.
And so that's why it's really important. People say like, oh, manage your stress. Like literally
For real.
manage your stress.
Yeah.
And so that's why, but I knew that this episode, like we be off topic. I knew this
Passionate.
episode was going to be like a off topic episode.
Yeah.
But that's why, when people say like manage your stress, for real, manage your stress.
Amen.
Like when you are at a job and then people be stressing you out, like don't let them people stress you out.
Right.
Because if something happens to you the next day, they're going to be holding interviews.
Oh, yeah.
It's never that deep.
Yeah.
It is never that deep.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And to be under that kind of pressure chronically, this is the point that we're both trying to make. A lot of people, especially in the beginning, you don't realize how it's actually affecting you because you
Right.
can't see something happening on your skin immediately
Right.
or something, but you actually are causing a change in
Right.
your body.
Right.
And this is this triggers other things in your body. What the rest of my sentence, and this is the last point I was going to make about cortisol, was that this is why a lot of women may see that they're struggling with irregular periods, because all these things are kind of linked. All these hormones that are supposed to be released at one time are now being released at a different time.
Right.
I don't really know the exact sciences, so I'm going to let you take care of that when it comes to progesterone and things like that. But the hormones are all out of whack, all imbalance, and this trickles down to irregular periods, painful periods, things that you're not supposed to have to deal with, but you're dealing with because of chronic stress, which is causing this.
And so let's talk about it, because this is very important that we understand.
Yes.
People think that, when you go to the doctor and they just say manage stress, especially in women, because this is what we're talking about. This is specifically for women. But let's talk about it. When cortisol stays elevated, what does that do?
Good.
Ovulation can be delayed or suppressed.
Okay.
I'm going to talk a little bit about my story a little bit later in the episode, so I won't get into it here. But when ovulation is delayed or suppressed, what does that mean? No ovulation, no baby.
Right.
If you are not ovulating, that means that you cannot get pregnant.
Right.
And so we'll go into that a little bit later.
Right.
But if your cortisol levels are high, that means that you can delay or suppress ovulation.
Good.
No ovulation,
No baby.
no baby.
Right.
Periods can be irregular. So if you're noticing, that's why you notice that when you're going through heavy transitions in your life. So you have lost a parent, you are going through grief, you are going through breakup, you're going through big life changes, you're going through intense work seasons, and your cycle skips a month. High cortisol levels. Irregular periods, right?
Wow.
Your PMS worsens, so you're very moody.
Yeah.
Right? high cortisol levels.
Yeah.
Anxiety increases, high cortisol levels. Weight becomes harder to regulate.
That's right.
Y'all can Google this, but they call it cortisol belly. If you're noticing that a lot of your weight is in your belly or in your neck, cortisol belly. That means you need to get something. There are different supplements that can help you to lower your stress levels, like ashwagandha and stuff like that. Now, we ain't doctors.
Right.
So make sure that if you're taking different medications, you go to your doctor and you make sure that, you know, these medications don't indicate with different. Go see your doctor.
That's
now,
right.
We ain't no doctors.
That's right.
But there are certain things that you can take to help lower your stress.
Good.
Also, inflammation rises. Now, with me, but that inflammation will take me out. I'm talking about from day to day. And that's why I have dedicated my life to making sure that my stress levels are low. Because literally, if I'm having a good day, my face will be chiseled.
This is me sucking my cheeks. Yeah. Right.
But baby, if something happens and I am stressed, I'm talking about in a matter of hours, I will look like a puffer fish.
Visibly, it shows.
It shows. So much so my mom will be like, what happened?
Right.
What happened?
Right.
I have like my cortisol. Listen, all of these things are from chronic stress that's linked to the cortisol level. So you have to make sure all of these things are hormonal. So you have to make sure that you are keeping your cortisol and your stress levels low.
Why is rest not laziness, but obedience?
Because God commanded Sabbath, first of all.
There we go.
Rest was not suggested. It was instructed.
There we go.
In Exodus 20. So ignoring it isn't hustle. It's literally disobedience. And the reference is Exodus 20, starting in 8. Also, we know that even Jesus withdrew.
Right.
So if the Son of God was able to step away from crowds when he needed to rest, we're able to do that as well.
Sis, to your point, what you were talking about, like how rest is commanded, I agree. It's also like in the rhythm of our life. Like it's like embedded into our rhythm. Like there is supposed to be a time where you can rest, get yourself back together and come back up to be used at full potential. But aside from that point that you already made, rest also communicates trust, right? When sometimes, and I'll speak personally for myself, if I ever feel like I can't stop micromanaging a thing or I can't rest from doing a certain thing, it's mostly because I don't trust that it'll be done without me being there. And so how this applies to our spiritual life is like you are trying to make provisions. You're probably working 3 jobs or probably doing all of these things so that you can have income. And while that is important to be able to have resources to sustain yourself, it is important to rest. And so you need to trust that even if I didn't have 3, if I had 2, or if I had 1.5, God is still going to make God is still going to provide and make my ends meet. The power is not physically in my hands, the physical work that I'm doing, but I trust God to meet my needs so that I can have time to take care of my body. The goal is not to be up from sun up to sundown and do it again the next day. The goal is to have a balanced life where you are able to take care of yourself and your family and also rest.
That's good, sis.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. And the last thing I'll say is because exhaustion distorts discernment.
Yes.
So when women are tired long term, they overreact more easily. They feel more anxious. A lot of times, I talk about this all the time, but we can't regulate our emotions, and we need to be able to regulate our emotions.
Yes.
And we start to make decisions from depletion, and we don't want to do that. And
Absolutely.
so it's very wise to make sure that we rest so that we can make decisions from discernment.
Absolutely, sis. And this reminds me, your example or your actual explanation reminds me of my everyday job. People sometimes look at the schedule of a teacher and they say they get too many days off. Why are they always off of work? But I just want to put into perspective, and I'm not preaching as a teacher right now. I'm just saying I want to put into perspective that there, especially for elementary, I can't speak so much about secondary and post, but especially for elementary, I can say that there is so much that goes into being an elementary teacher, right? You're not just a teacher, but you're also an emotional support. You're a mom to some people, you're just a lot. And so we're always working. We're always running. Even when we're not at the job, we're always running and doing things behind the scene. And so I think it's important that we remember that breaks are built into our schedule where we can actually just sit back and take a moment to decompress, to kind of relax. Because let me tell you what happens. It's kind of like a culture in schools. You'll start having meetings like towards this time of year with your principals. I mean, like staff meetings. And they'll start saying things like, I know things are getting rough. Please keep it together. Please don't touch the kids. please hold your emotional, they're reminding teachers to, like, I know we're all on edge,
right,
but remember to hold yourself to your profession or hold yourself to what you're supposed to be doing. And so that speaks directly to rest for me. I am so wound up because I've been doing this for months straight without a time to just say, okay, I don't have to think about 40 something kids today. I can just be.
Yeah.
And so that's what it reminds me of. You start to make bad decisions. You start to be a little impulsive. You start to do the wrong thing, start to shortcut things because you're so tired. And that's why rest is so important, so that you can be the best that you can be at what you're doing, but also so that you can be fulfilled in what you're doing without being too short. Because I feel bad when I'm too short with kids.
Yeah.
I feel horrible. And I know it's usually because I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I need some rest.
Yeah.
Why do so many women delay doctor's appointments? And what does wisdom say about preventative care?
I think one of the main reasons is fear of what they might hear.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of women don't go to the doctor.
I agree.
So it's like, what if something really is wrong?
There is that fear, sis. I agree with that 100%, because I remember being in a place like that, like thinking that something has to be wrong, some kind of nervous to figure out what's going on. But I think another reason that women don't keep up on their preventative care the way they should has a lot to do sometimes with resources and with putting other people in front of themselves, like a time management thing. Like, I have a grandma that I take. This is a fake example, but, like, for example, I have a grandma that I take to her dialysis appointment once a week, and I have to stay for 3 hours or whatever, right? But I never create that same kind of time to go ahead and say, I'm going to schedule to go ahead and take myself to a doctor. Another example, and these are, let me be very clear, these are also excuses,
right?
Because it is our task to take care of ourselves, to create the time. So let me be clear. I'm not saying that these are good reasons. I'm just saying that these are the reasons that people present. Another reason, and this is a little bit more personal to myself, is a time management thing.
Yeah.
I sometimes can use the fact that I'm at school when doctors' offices are open as an excuse to not be on top of making that appointment, if that makes sense. Or I can't make the appointment on this day because I'm going to miss school, and who wants to miss work, that kind of thing. And so what am I doing? I'm putting others in front of my own security, in front of my own health. And last point, the second part to the point I was making was resources. If you are uneducated about insurance, if you don't know how insurance works, you can pick the wrong plan. Been there. So you're paying these really high deductibles. You can make little mistakes like that, which actually prevent you, because if you don't have the money, it actually prevents you from being able to go unless you have the money to pay out of pocket. And so being educated is important, even about your insurance policies, so that you can have that freedom to go to the doctor for preventative care.
What
as
if you
should.
don't have insurance? If
you don't have insurance, sis, I really can't speak to that 100%. I know that there are resources outside of jobs that provide independent insurance, but I also understand that these resources are more expensive. And so I'm not very familiar about that process. But I know it's a pay out of pocket or a self-pay kind of situation, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Which
self-pay.
Is unfortunate.
And there are resources. You just have to, like, for example, I worked previously for the Department of Health, and so I was able to see that there are resources, especially for children in the state of Florida. If you don't have insurance, there are programs to be able to get free dental care.
As an adult, or you're speaking specifically to, like, taking care of children?
In this example, I'm just speaking for children, but in the same sentence, there are, that's what I was getting to. There are certain programs where, as an adult, you can receive care as well. So that's what I'm saying. You can find these programs, but again, you have to be looking for them. You have to do your research. And so it's just really hard, especially, in 2026, they make it really, I don't know. You have to do your research. Yes. Because they're not out there, like, when I was working for the Department of Health, we weren't out there like promoting saying, hey, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. Right. So it makes it really hard. Yeah. I agree. Makes it really hard. So, and like you were saying, the question is asking, why do women delay doctor's appointments? Also, busyness. Yeah. You were saying, sometimes it's excuses, like people make excuses, but sometimes, like, women put themselves on the back burner because they have so many other things to do. Like they're taking care of their husband, they're taking care of their children. And so they may only get a certain amount of days off. And so on those days, they're taking their children to their doctor's appointments. They're taking, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes it is excuses. But then other times it's not excuses.
Literally no time.
So there's no time.
I understand.
They may work at a busy office and they only have a certain amount of days off, and they're taking their family. They may be a caregiver to somebody, and they're using all of their PTO. So it's sometimes it's rough.
It's a sticky, very sticky situation.
And sometimes, I mean, the world is wicked. The world is wicked, because then there are certain jobs like, you know, I've worked at jobs previously where you don't work, you don't get paid. I had no PTO. And so, I could take off whenever I wanted to go to the doctor's office, but then I don't get paid.
Right. Which is, it affects you in the future.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
and in this economy, who can afford that?
You know what I'm saying? So it's just a tough situation. So to answer the second part of the question, what does wisdom say about preventative care? Well, biblically, wisdom is about foresight. So Proverbs consistently praises planning ahead.
That's right.
Guarding what we've been given and taking correction early. So preventative care is wisdom because it addresses issues before they escalate. It gives us options before they become emergencies.
That's right. And we're fully informed of what's going on, so we can plan appropriately. Yeah, I love that.
That's right.
Okay.
How can women advocate for themselves in medical spaces when they feel dismissed?
So one thing that I've learned in this journey is that advocacy begins with preparation. So this means things like going the extra mile and tracking your symptoms, being sensitive and listening to your body so that you can take note of it. And when you have your doctor's appointment, you can ask or present all of your concerns to the doctor at one time. Bringing your data, bringing things like your period cycle. A lot of the time when we go to the doctor, they said, when was your last period cycle? And being able to answer that question specifically or intentionally is going to help you. Being able to ask direct questions is also a way to yes, ma'am.
I just want to slow down for a second.
I'm chopping through them too fast.
Yes. Can we just, because I want everybody to understand what some of these things mean.
Perfect.
So when you say track your symptoms, be as specific as possible. So doctors only have a certain amount of time. Right. So when you go into a doctor's visit, don't just go in there saying, you know, my head hurts.
I don't feel well.
Or I don't feel well. Or, you know, my periods are irregular. Like you're saying, be as specific as possible. I know people that don't really like to verbalize. They're a little shy. This is not the time. This is not the time to do that.
And I'm happy that you interjected right here, sis, because you're the one actually who helped me realize how important it is to track these things and be able to explicitly explain it when I get there. And so I kind of brushed over it because just like you, I mean, I don't think that you assumed that I knew, but just like a person who knows, they assume that everyone else knows. And so I said it kind of quickly, but you're absolutely correct. Someone had to tell me that, listen, if when you eat this, you notice this, put that down so you can tell your doctor about this. And so that's exactly what I mean by tracking symptoms. I noticed that this is different than this, or when I go to the restroom, I'm noticing this, or like be very specific and take note, listen to your body changing, because that's another thing too. Your body will let you know when things are different. And so you have to listen to that too. Be attentional.
And so when the doctors come in and they say, hey, how can I help you today? Or how are you feeling? They don't mean like, hey, I'm feeling okay. Or I'm feeling. No, they want to know, like, why are you sitting in front of me today? So go through the motions. Hey, it's been a couple of months since I was able to get my period. Hey, it's been a couple of months since I've been getting pain. Where exactly is the pain? Go through all of the things that you know. Pull out a piece of paper. Like
with questions.
Them,
I'll do that. That's the part that I do now.
Tell them as much as you can. Even if you don't think that it's relevant, it probably is. Because doctors only know as much as you tell them.
That's good.
So tell them as much as you can. Tell them as much as you can. And I cannot stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough. And if you overshare, It's okay.
They're a doctor.
Oversharing is better than not sharing enough. And from what you tell them, they'll be able to order tests. They'll be able to give you some medication. They'll be able to come up with a treatment plan.
Yes, ma'am.
But you have to be able to tell them, like Sis was saying, about, your periods, about how you're feeling, about what you're eating, about any type of, symptoms like on your skin, just about all of the things, because everything is connected.
That's right.
And so even if, if you're having a hormonal issue, even if it's something gastro, right? Because I noticed, that gastro is also connected.
Yes, it is.
Even if you're getting migraines are also connected. And so even if you don't think that something is connected, even if you're like, oh, well, I'm having migraines, I'm probably going to have to see the neurologist, but I'm here at the endocrinologist, make sure that you mention that as well, because all of these symptoms could be connected, but you might not mention it. And now...
That's real good, sis. That's real good. And I don't think a lot of people realize the gastro one. Another one that I was thinking that people may not realize, or I didn't at first, was acne.
Oh, for sure.
Your skin is out of control and you're not really doing anything different. That is also a sign. I remember one time, and I don't mean to put my business out, but I remember one time you said to me, I can always tell when things are not going the way they're supposed to, because my skin will show it. And so that's another symptom or another thing that you can track and say, hey, I also noticed that I'm getting very bad acne along my chin, or, just mention anything that you notice that is changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So now go on to the next one.
Okay. So the next one was asking direct questions. And so this is good because a lot of times, first of all, like you said, you want to write them down or put them in a notebook or something, because a lot of times at the point of making the appointment, at the spot at making the appointment, we have a lot of questions, and then we get in front of the doctor and we kind of clam up. We say, I forgot to say this, I forgot to. And so you want to make sure that you write them down or take mental note of these direct questions you're asking and expect an answer. If you get an answer that you can't understand, ask more clarifying questions. Ask more clarifying questions. Ask you can even ask things like, where can I read more? Do you have a pamphlet where I can read more about this research? Just really take hold of your treatment plan. Yes, you're working with the doctor, but you also have a responsibility in working with him by offering information and showing an interest to find out more for yourself.
And you should never leave an appointment confused or
what did he say?
Or uninformed. You should never, even if you don't have of course, I love that you said, have your questions written down, right? But let's just say you have questions written down and they answer the questions and you're still confused. It's okay to say, hey, I'm not really clear on what you're saying. Is it okay if you clarify or, reiterate? Right. Okay. Because I'm not understanding, honey. Hello? I don't get it.
And in my experience, I've had even doctors bring out a model, literally. To show me and explain.
If you ask them to reiterate and they have a problem with that, that's probably not the doctor for you.
Right. Keep on shopping for sure.
It's probably not the doctor for you. And I always tell my mom this: in your follow-up questions, if you go to a doctor and you're asking your follow-up questions, make sure that you ask your follow-up questions right. My mom, that's why I had to start going to the doctors with my mom, because my mom will go and she'll ask her a few questions, they'll answer, and then they'll just give her medication. And she's come home and she said, I said, how'd the doctor's appointment go? Oh, it went well. They gave me such and such medication. Oh, what's that for?
Right.
Oh, I don't know.
Right.
What do you mean?
Right.
What is it for? What is it for?
Right. Why did they give it to you? Right.
Well, they said it would help me. Help you with what?
Right.
And then I'm like, I be getting upset.
I know
what is the
do.
medication for?
Yeah.
What are you taking the medication? What is it for? And I'm like, okay, well, is it going to interact with your other medications?
Right.
This is another important question.
Yeah.
Is it going to interact with your other medications? What are the side effects of the medication? How long are you going to be on this medication? I need the answers.
Sis, this is reminding me of something. I hope I'm not cutting you off.
No.
But your question, not your question. The question talks about how we can advocate for ourselves and when we're in medical spaces when we feel dismissed. And it just made me think, do I feel dismissed because I never even asked the question?
Hello?
He said, here, you told me this, here's my solution, but I never said, can you explain further? And so now I feel like he didn't care for me, but I never asked the question. And so you're preaching to me because I'm like, he could provide the information, but if I didn't ask, he's probably like, okay,
and
job's
done.
done.
On their merry way.
Yeah. Because like you said, they have a specific amount of time. Yeah. And so, yeah, you're when you said that to me, I just thought, I said, oh, yeah, you probably feel dismissed because you're not even doing your part, which is to dig deeper if you really don't understand. Don't leave there uninformed.
Them doctors be loving me. They be like, are you a doctor?
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, oh, yeah, and I really like holistic medication.
Yeah.
What are the side effects of this medication? You know what I'm saying? I don't,
So it's important to decipher the difference.
It's very important. Don't let them people just give you anything.
Right. Like that's another good thing too.
Yeah, I went to a doctor's appointment one time, and the man was like, "Your cholesterol is a little high. We're just going to put you on a statin medication."
Right.
What?
Just put me on a statin medication.
Just put you on a statin medication. This was before I was like, like now I'm like a walking advocacy machine. Advocacy. Yeah. Yes. Machine, right? But hello, God will send. God will send somebody.
Yeah.
I went to the Walgreens and was getting it filled, and the lady looked me in my soul. That's how I knew God had sent her. Have you ever went on this medication before? And I was like, no. She's like, be very careful of this medication.
Right.
I said, okay, Holy Spirit. I went home and looked at that medication. Absolutely not. Once you get on the statin medication, you can't get off of the statin medication.
Oh wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was quickly after that, I was like, okay, this was like in my younger years.
Right.
But the point is, like, you cannot just be getting on.
It's true. It's true.
You have to do research, look up this information, ask questions. Anyway, we're off topic. But
that's good though. That's good.
What else is? Go down your list.
That's good.
Go down the list.
We covered a lot in us just talking, because I was gonna say bring data. So bring your cycle data, bring, information like that. I was gonna talk about requesting clarification or information in writing if necessary. Yes. And then lastly, my last point about this question was that self-advocacy is not hostility, it is stewardship.
That's right.
And so that was also speaking to me, because sometimes I can feel like, oh, if I ask this question or if I ask this follow-up question, first of all, was I not listening? Is that why I didn't understand? And second of all, I can also feel like maybe they would feel like I'm challenging them because I want them to go deeper than they offered to go. And so this study has taught me, and being in community with you has taught me that it's not hostility, it's not being rude, it's trying to work with the doctor to figure out exactly what the issue is. And so I wanted to share that.
And at the end of the day, it's your life.
That's it. Right. That's what it boils down to.
Life.
Right.
And if you meet somebody, I had an experience with a doctor not too long ago. This man is wicked.
Wow.
Wicked. And he didn't like exactly what you're saying. He did not like that I was asking so many questions.
Right.
But that's okay.
Right.
I never have to see you again.
That's right.
I went right out there, because you know me, I'm not arguing with you.
That's right.
If you don't want to help me, that's okay. And that's the point that you have to get to. If you can't help me, sir.
Yes.
Hello. Y'all better catch this. If you can't help me, somebody else can help me.
That's right.
It's too many doctors
out
here.
That's right.
If you can't help me, somebody else. I went right out there to the lady and I said, I don't wish to ever see this man again.
Yeah.
I wasn't nasty.
Right.
I wasn't upset.
Right.
But that lady knew I meant business.
Right.
I don't wish to ever see this man again.
Right.
And you can go ahead and you can refund me my copay. Matter of fact.
Yeah. Because I'm not even visiting. No. I'm not even visiting.
Because he did nothing for me. You understand? Like, you don't have to get upset.
Right.
But you also don't have to take no foolishness.
That's good. I was just going to say that's good though. Know when you're being dismissed and when you have something to do with the environment.
Yes.
That's good. Know the difference between the two.
Yes. I just want to add, sis, request specific testings when appropriate. Doing your own research is very important.
Okay.
So we already talked about tracking your symptoms. We already talked about bringing your specific questions. Before you go to the doctors, do your own research. If you're having pain, if you think that, your period is irregular, or if you've already been to the doctor for your initial visit and they've kind of come up with a treatment plan, but the pain is persisting. If certain things are persisting, you can look up certain testings.
Right.
So you can go to the doctor for a follow-up and say, hey, you know what, if they haven't mentioned something, hey, you know what, if this pain persists, can we go for an MRI?
Right.
Hey, if my period is still irregular, hey, can we have a full hormone panel?
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can ask ask for testing.
That's right. That's good, sis. Because a lot of people don't know that they can ask the doctor to write them a script for something.
Right.
Or that might even trigger a conversation. Like he might say, oh, well, I can see why you would think that because maybe this could have something to do. It could bring the conversation deeper. So I love that you said that.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, get a second opinion without guilt. Things, and we're going to talk about in the very next question, I'm going to tell a little bit about my story, but things like PCOS and endometriosis can be hard to diagnose.
Yeah.
And so when you go to your first appointment, they might not diagnose you, but if you know your body and you know that something is wrong, you might have to go for a second opinion, and that is okay.
Right.
A second opinion might be wise, and that is that's okay.
Yeah.
Advocate for yourself.
That's right.
And then the last thing that I'm going to say is bring support if needed.
Yeah.
If you feel intimidated, if you are not me, because
Right.
I'm busting through the doors.
Right.
You feel me?
Ready.
I'm that person. If you're somebody, like I said, I go to the doctor with my mom now because my mom is more of a soft spoken. She's more of a go with the flow. She's more of the, I think I said this in a previous episode, that the doctor had my mom waiting for like an hour, 2 hours one time. And I was like, oh no, ma'am, we not doing that. She needs support. I am her support.
That's right.
Because I'm busting through the doors, like I said.
That's right.
It's okay to bring support. Find somebody that might have a little bit more hair on their chest that's going to be able to support you.
That's good.
Is it your mother? Is it your sister? Is
That's
it your
good.
husband? Is it, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
good.
find somebody that's going to be able to support you.
That's good.
In that way.
Amen.
Amen.
I love it.
I love it too. Yeah. So let's go. And I kept saying that I was going to tell a little bit of my story.
Okay.
And I as I was preparing for this episode, I said that I was going to practice. I have not practiced, so I'm just going to
go with
wing it and just see where this leads me. So I have PCOS. It's polycystic ovarian syndrome. I've probably had PCOS since I could remember, undiagnosed for a very long time. I've had my periods since I was probably 11. And since I've gotten my period, I have always been very irregular, right? But I didn't know. So I had my period, but I didn't know that being irregular was a problem.
Right.
I just thought like, oh yeah, my period just comes
sometimes
every couple months. I'm cool. And people will talk about like how they got their menstrual every single month and how it would be painful. I'm like, oh yeah, mine comes sometimes. It doesn't come. And I used to like brag about it, how it would come like sometimes and how it would only stay a couple of days and how it was always very light. I like thought it was a badge of honor because I didn't understand. I was never educated about it. And so, I get to college and I start getting these really bad migraines. And I'm like, oh, sorry, y'all. I start getting these really bad migraines. And I didn't really know that it was connected or anything. That's what I mentioned migraines before. I didn't really know that it was connected to anything. Start getting these really bad migraines. And I start to notice like, okay, these periods are getting really regular now. Like they used to come like maybe every 3 months. Now it's like every 6 months. Then then it's like now it's starting to become a little problem. Now it's like, what's going on? So I go to the gynecologist and they're like, okay, we're going to put you on birth control. Okay. Because for a lot of gynecologists, birth control is the answer. So they put me on birth control and I was on birth control for about 3 weeks and I gained like 20 pounds, 25 pounds. And I realized real quick that birth control was just not for me. I did not like it at all. It just wasn't for me. So I got off of it real quick. And I was in college and somebody recommended that I went to go see an endocrinologist. Now I knew nothing about the endocrinologist, didn't know what the endocrinologist was, went to go see the endocrinologist, love him to this day. I still see him to this day. And that started a very long road of me trying to get my hormones under control. And so I went to see the endocrinologist and he basically was like, you have PCOS. I was diagnosed with PCOS like as soon as I went to go see the endocrinologist. That literally never happens. Usually people don't see the endocrinologist. Usually people stick with their gynecologist. The gynecologist only tests like 1 or 2 hormones.
Right.
That's all they have the capacity to do.
Right.
But when you go to the endocrinologist, they do a full hormone panel. So it's like 15 vials.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, I thought I was about to drop after that day.
Right.
They do like 15 vials. And so I was diagnosed with PCOS, and my endocrinologist told me, like, this is not going to be easy for you, but you're going to have to change a lot of different things. Your body is, remember I told you about inflammation.
Yeah.
Your body is very sensitive. So you're going to have to go on a diet where you have to eat low inflammatory things. You have insulin resistance. So this is where your body is full of insulin, right? Which turns into testosterone. So you have high testosterone levels. And so that's why your periods are not regular and stuff like
all
that.
linked.
So we have to bring the testosterone down. And so I went on a journey of like trying to balance my hormones and stuff like that. Well, when you're in college, you ain't, you don't want to eat healthy.
Not a lot of stability there.
You don't want to, you know, and so for probably 5 years, I was like serious, but not as serious as I am now. Like I was, you know, taking my medication, trying to like eat like a little healthy, but not so much. So I was taking my medication, but, you know, living my best life, you know, whatever. And so I finished college or whatever, and I was able to lose weight. And so with PCOS, a lot of people say, oh, I go to the doctor and they just tell me to lose weight and that's it. Right. Losing weight is going to help with your symptoms, but it's all about living a balanced lifestyle, right? And so I was able to lose weight. All of my symptoms got better, but because I wasn't doing everything that I was supposed to do, everything started to fluctuate. And so I got to a point where I was just like, okay, I have to figure out what I'm going to do. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat right. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything that I need to do. And so what are the things that you are supposed to do when you have polycystic ovarian syndrome? Well, first of all, you are supposed to make sure that you have low sugar. Right. Because like I said, when you have high insulin, it kind of mirrors somebody that has diabetes. And so you have to make sure that you balance your hormones so that you can keep your insulin levels low. And so making sure that you lower your sugar, lower your inflammation. So eating low inflammatory foods. Well, what does that look like? Making sure that you're not eating fried foods, making sure that you're not eating fast food, making sure that you're not eating high inflammatory foods. Also making sure that it's not restrictive eating, but making sure that you are eating whole foods, like balanced. That's right. And I'll talk about that a little later in one of the last questions. But like eating balanced meals, I think that's the most important thing. And so I was able to reverse a lot of my symptoms. Like I was saying, there's not really a cure, but you're able to reverse your symptoms if you're able to get all of your symptoms under control. You're able to reverse everything. And so I'm able to live a pretty normal life. But I just wanted to go over some of the symptoms back when I was first diagnosed. How was I able to see like something isn't right besides the irregular periods? There's some other things. I guess if the girlies are seeing some of these symptoms, that can mean like, okay, you need to go to the doctor. And then I want to touch a little bit on endometriosis as well, because endometriosis is kind of similar to PCOS, but as far as infertility goes, but kind of different. So some of the symptoms we know: irregular periods, we know ovulation, no ovulation as well. We know cysts because polycystic ovarian syndrome. So when I went in to get my ultrasounds and stuff like that, when I first started seeing the endocrinologist, you get an ultrasound and a lot of times you'll see like little cysts. Some of the cysts are so big that they have to get the cysts or the fibroids or another symptom. You have to get those removed. Some of them are not, big or causing any problems, so they can be left in.
I have a question. Are the cysts always visible invisible, or can you still have PCOS without the actual cysts?
Yeah, you can still have PCOS without cysts, but a lot of times you're going to have cysts.
Okay.
Moodiness, fatigue, hungry all the time. A lot of times you're hangry, darkening of the skin. So this one, a lot of times, this is the same thing with diabetes, where you have that black on the neck. Same thing with PCOS. And a lot of times it could be misdiagnosed, especially when you go in and take your A1C levels. You can be misdiagnosed
for diabetes.
Yes, for diabetes. Also, you can get all of the hair up under your neck, hormonal growing of the hair. And the same thing, because your testosterone is so high, it's going to be man-like hair growing and man-like hair balding. So you're going to be growing your hair under your neck, and then you're going to be balding in
like
the same places that men are going to bald. So at the top of your head. Also, rapid weight gain. So if you notice that you were fine and then all of a sudden you're gaining weight really fast, and then you're doing everything you can to lose the weight, and you're not eating really bad, you're eating like you regularly eat, and it's really, really hard for you to lose the weight that you gained all of a sudden. These are also symptoms. Cystic acne that you spoke about. Cystic acne is another symptom, and this is why we were connecting it. Everything is connected. Cystic acne is connected also. So the acne is connected, so it's connected to dermatology. It's also connected to gastroenterology, right? It's also connected to all of the things that you're eating and putting in your body.
Nutrition,
as you were saying, it's connected to nutrition. So all of these things are connected.
Yes.
And then I'm not going to talk about this for too long because it's very controversial. But when I was talking about how I went on birth control, and I got off of it because I didn't like it. Birth control is just very, I don't like it. And I don't think it's very beneficial, because birth control is a synthetic hormone. So a lot of gynecologists like to put you on birth control when you're having problems with your period, right? But birth control is a synthetic hormone, and it's going to help you regulate your period, but it's synthetic. So when you get off of it, it hasn't helped anything.
Right. It hasn't fixed anything, right?
It hasn't fixed anything.
And then even when you get off of it, there's a process of you like getting that out of your system. Yeah.
It's synthetic. And so it hasn't helped you regulate anything, because when you get off of it, your body is still not going to be able to function without it. And so you're going to have to figure out how you're going to be able to get your period regulated. And so the infertility is still going to be there.
That's right. So we haven't solved the problem. We just
have not solved the
pumped
problem
you of drugs, right? And kind of faked it.
You just put the Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of people that have been on birth control since they were 16. And then they're 30 and now they've gotten off the birth control because they're married now, because they actually want the kids. Now they're in a dilemma.
Because they have to now do the actual work it would take to get them on the right track.
Now they've gotten a big problem. Now all of these people are the ones that's having the infertility issues. Because your body hasn't functioned in a long time. It hasn't had the opportunity in a long time.
I have a similar birth control story too. I was having like these weird kind of periods. They weren't gone for a long time, but they were just kind of weird. And so my doctor, at that time I was very young, so I didn't even ask any questions, I don't think. But I got put on birth control. I was taking the birth control, and I noticed that like I could time the time. I knew at like 10:10. Because it was like the time that I took the pill that I would have my period. And so I did that for a few years, actually. I didn't have the symptom of weight gain. So I did it for a few years. And then when I finally decided that, okay, I'm going to get off of this, that's when I noticed that like my periods were worse than when I started. They were gone for a long time, but then when they would come, they would stay for a long time. And that's the part that really alarmed me and really had me like looking into like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on here. And so that prompted me to start the work, because I knew that wasn't normal to just be losing blood for months. I'm not talking about a week or two. I'm talking about months, right? And then like not seeing it and then seeing it again for a long time. And so these are the things that we mentioned in the beginning. Like your body is going to try to tell you, and you shouldn't accept it as normal just because other people in your family or circle experience the same thing. Also, sis, in your story, I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but in your story, I was reminded too how important community is, because like you were saying, sometimes we're ignorant. We just don't know what we don't know. And so you figured out one thing, right? And so then when I eventually started to talk to you about my journey, you were able to say, hey, you should go see this person to see a check on this, or to go see. And it's not so that my job can be easier and so that I don't have to do any research, but you've already done the due diligence and you're able to share it with me so that I can get on the right path. And so I just wanted to say that this video has so many purposes, right? We're here to educate and to share, but also to inspire. If you're on the journey like me, right, you have figured out, you know, what it is and how you can address it and how you can manage it. But some people may still be on the journey. Like, you pretty much have an idea of what's going on, but you're still in the diagnosis area. You're still in the testing and trying to figure it out and changing lifestyles kind of area. And so I feel like this should be like inspiration for women to know that, like, whether you figured it out or you haven't figured it out, like, continue. Don't stop. Continue to push and get rejuvenated to go back out there and protect your health. And so I really love that you're sharing this story, because you didn't make it seem like it happened overnight. It was a process.
And this is encouragement for women who are watching who have daughters.
That's good.
Educate your children.
And
you
young.
know, like I said, when I got my menstrual cycle, I thought it was great that I wasn't getting my menstrual cycle over the course of a couple of months. Don't be like me. Right. If you're noticing that your child is skipping over months, right, that is a problem. You know what I'm saying? So keep an eye on that and keep it in the back of your mind, like, okay, she's not getting her menstrual cycle every month. When she gets to be about 16 years old, if this thing is still going on, I need to take her to the gynecologist and get some hormone panels done to see what's going on. And maybe take her to the endocrinologist. Start early, because the earlier you start, we can balance these hormones. And so, and you know, I've been working on this for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? If we can start when if I would have started when I was 16, well, I would be good.
You'd be a pro at managing.
And just to tie in endometriosis, because endometriosis is something that gets misdiagnosed all the time. Endometriosis is a chronic, often painful disease where tissue similar to the urine lining grows outside of the uterus. And so the symptoms for this is intense pain during periods, intercourse, and also they experience heavy bleeding. And so if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, and this sounds like you also go to the endocrinologist.
And I just wanted to add to that, it doesn't have to be all three either. It can be either or. I know personally, because I haven't been officially diagnosed, but my last visit, my doctor was kind of interested in testing me for, you know, to see if I have endometriosis, because I described to him very painful periods. And specifically the second day, I was like, doctor, you have to hear me. I be about to fall out on the floor. And so I think that really intrigued him. And so there are tests and there are things that they can do to kind of nail that down.
Stages to endometriosis.
Okay, so that's what. Okay, so then maybe I'm at a stage where I don't experience all three, right? Because I don't. Those are the questions that they ask if you have any pain, you know, during intercourse or anything like that. And I don't experience those or even heavy flow. It's not heavy, but it's painful. It's very painful. And so don't think that you have to have check to be considered, you know, just like you said, there's different levels, so you could be on your way, possibly, potentially.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Good. That was a good conversation.
All right. How do we remove shame around infertility, delayed fertility, or reproductive struggles?
So we know culturally, a lot of time, like if a woman is not producing or reproducing, people may think that something is wrong with the woman, or even in the older times historically, that she was being cursed, right? Being punished because she cannot reproduce or have a child. And so I think that we remove shame around infertility in 2026 today by just rooting yourself in God. And what do I mean? I know that sounds very simple, right? But it has been life-changing for me, right? I remember at a time in my life where I was obsessed with becoming pregnant and like figuring out like, what do I need to do to, you know, make sure that this happens. And so on my journey, or on my Christian journey, I realized that like God is it. He is enough. If my desire, me and my husband's desire, are to have children. I need to know though that if I never actually birth or create life within myself, that this is my life is anchored in God's hand. And so this is my story. I anchor myself in knowing that God knows everything and I am in alignment with him. And so because these things are true, I will wait on his time.
That's right.
And so I don't feel as anxious. I don't have any shame because I know that I am in the palm of God's hands. I know that my story is being written. And so that anxiety, that fear of like being left or being left out is no longer present because I just trust in God's design for my life. And that takes a lot of crying out and being honest and being vulnerable. You know, hopefully you have a partner. That's why you're trying to, you know. So it takes a lot of honest conversations with your partner, because even if you accept it,
right,
you still have another half.
That's right.
And so that portion, that praying and going through it together, that crying, and that has to be a joint thing, because there's no way that you can feel like you're completely healed while your spouse is still like, no, right. I need this to happen. Now that's going to create some kind of tension in your relationship, and now it's trickling. So just to make sure I sum up the question, I answer it. How do I deal with it? How do I remove it? I'm very prayerful about it. I'm very, I create boundaries, hard boundaries for myself, right? I don't believe that because God has delivered me once from it, that I'm automatically delivered every day from it. So I'm always praying about my sanity, about my emotional state. You know, when it raises up the most for women who are in this situation is when their period comes. Because if you're trying all month and then you wake up one morning and it's there, right, you feel like, oh, here we go again. But in that moment, that's when you're the weakest. Well, for me, let me speak personally, that's when you feel defeated, because you know it's a clear sign that it hasn't happened. And so in those moments, that's when I really lean into God. God, it hasn't happened this month. I still trust that you are faithful, that you know what you're doing. And so I will continue to just believe and follow and anchor myself in you. And that's really what it takes. Identify a identity clarification moment. Like, God, it's beautiful and I want it, but that is not everything. My job is to worship and to love and to do what you've called me to do. And so, it's a mature pill to swallow.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I think also we remove shame around these things by we have to stop spiritualizing medical realities.
There you go.
I think some Christians that mean well say things like, you know, just have a little bit more faith.
Yeah.
And it'll happen when you stop trying, or maybe God's trying to teach you something.
That's their favorite one.
Child.
That's their favorite one.
God trying to teach you something. That's the favorite one.
No, the one right before it'll happen it'll
happen when you stop trying.
Like, what are you even talking about?
And so I think that when Christians say things like that, it deepens the shame. Yeah. So it's like, yes, God is sovereign, but conditions like PCOS and like endometriosis are medical realities that deserve medical attention. Good. And so faith and treatment are not opposites. We have to make sure that we're seeking medical attention. So we have to seek help and not unbelief.
That's good,
and so we have to make sure that we're marrying the two together.
That's good, sis.
And the last thing I'll say is normalize proactive reproductive health conversations.
Oh, that's good.
Make sure that we are advocating.
Yeah.
Right. Part of removing shame is removing the secrecy.
That's good.
I think that conversations like this are so important.
Yeah.
Women should feel comfortable discussing things like hormonal testing and cycle irregularities.
Good.
Cycle
irregularities. I struggle too.
I'm gonna keep that too. Yeah. Irregularities.
There you go.
PCOS diagnoses and things like that. We have to make sure that we're bringing awareness, like I said, to these conversations so that they can start earlier. Like I was saying just a while ago, we have to make sure that we are advocating early, because if we can catch it early, that means that we have a better chance of beating it. We have a better chance of making sure that we can be fertile later on in life. So
that's right.
Conversations like this help.
That's probably the most powerful tip right there, though, is being able to talk about it so the shame is taken away. Yeah. I've taken it away myself because I'm talking to you about it, so you can't shame me about it. I think that's a very powerful and practical tool. Yeah. Share, open up, talk about your struggle, and you'll see how you have no more. You're not hiding. That's how it started for me. You're not hiding anymore. Yeah. Because you're open about it. You're talking about it. That's good. Yeah. That's good. Last question?
Last question.
Here we go. What practical steps can women take now to protect their reproductive health for the future.
So we've been talking about, you know, ways to do it throughout the whole episode, but we already talked about tracking our cycle consistently. Yes. So we're taking our vital signs all the time. We're tracking the length of the cycle, and there's apps for this where you can track the length of the cycle. And then when you click on it there, we can track the pain level. We can track how we're feeling, our mood, the flow, PCOS severity, all the things. Request basic hormone and metabolic testing if those symptoms appear. So based off of if we're noticing irregular periods, if we're noticing the acne, the weight gain, all of the different symptoms that I was talking about when I was sharing my story, hair thinning, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. If we are experiencing any of these symptoms, then we can request the hormone and metabolic testing. Schedule endocrinology. So the only way that we're going to be able to request the testing is if we go to see the endocrinologist. Again, like I was saying before, the gynecology is only going to be able to do 1 or 2 tests. That's right. Thyroid, I forgot to mention this earlier, but thyroid is also hormonal. Right. So there's a lot of people that have thyroid irregularities as well. So if you have thyroid malfunction, also goes to see the endocrinologist as well. But the gynecologist is only going to be able to take 1 to 2 tests. So if you're experiencing a lot of these symptoms, schedule with the endocrinologist, not the gynecologist. That's good. Some people, you might have to go to the gynecologist just to get the referral. That's right. But a lot of times you can get the referral from the PCP. Right. So if you go to them and you say, the PCP is the primary care physician. So if you go and you say, hey, I'm experiencing all of these symptoms, I want to see the endocrinologist, they'll give you the referral. What else?
I was just going to say, you got everything I have except for stress management, which is what we spoke about in the beginning. Managing that stress. So figuring out how you can best keep that stress under control. And sometimes it may mean that you need an outlet. Like maybe for some people, going to the gym is a way to like manage or balance the stress, but whatever it takes, make sure you're getting that stress down.
Yes, prioritizing sleep.
For sure.
Because we know that sleep is also linked to, lack of sleep is also linked to stress. Right. And so that's how we're able to regulate cortisol as well. Sleep regulates cortisol, insulin, reproductive hormones, inflammation. And so that's another way to manage cortisol levels and stress. Right. Supporting your body with nourishing food, balanced meals, whole foods. And I mean, we can do a whole episode on how we're killing ourselves with the food that we're consuming, and we won't go down that rabbit hole because I take very seriously the things that I put in my body, almost too much. But I noticed that the things that I put inside of my body reflect my outer appearance down to like my skin. Right. And so I take it very seriously, but be consistent. Make sure that you're getting high protein. Make sure that, you know, and because PCOS is a hormonal imbalance and it's all about balancing sugar, you have to make sure that you're getting high protein. You have to make sure that you're getting high fiber. You have to make sure that you are doing low sugar and you are eating anti-inflammatory foods. So nutrition is very, very, very big with PCOS. Even if you are not able to get to the doctor right away, even if you're going through something with your insurance where they're not able to get the referral and all of that, you can literally start today by just cleaning out what you eat.
Sis, and doing a little research for sure, right? Because I was informed through community about even fruits. Some fruits we're not supposed to eat because they're too high in sugar. And so you might think you're doing a good thing, but just a little research will kind of point you in the right direction.
That's right. Yeah. Move your body consistently.
Yes,
so make
body
sure.
movement.
So PCOS, I can do like a whole episode on PCOS. But PCOS, when you have PCOS and also endometriosis, moving your body is very important, which I don't always do the best at. But specific exercises are better for PCOS. So high cardio is not always the best. So doing slower exercises like low impact workouts, strength training and stuff like that sometimes are a little better. So doing, like you said, research on that as well.
That's good.
And then the last thing saying, and we've been talking about this for the last few minutes, but just educating yourself early. I have been working on this, like I've said, for the last 15 years. I've been trying to figure out what works for me for the last literally like almost 15 years. And so it's been a lot of trial and error. It's been a lot of community and working with my doctors and stuff like that. So the earlier you're able to catch it, the longer that you have. So making sure that you catch it as early as possible. I caught it in my early 20s, right? So I'm good now. If I was married and I wanted to start having children, I think that I would be in a place where I wouldn't have as much trouble.
That's right.
As if I would have started 15 years ago, I probably would have had a time.
Right.
So for the people that are in their 20s and they're like, oh, well, I'm not worried about it right now. I don't need to get pregnant right now. It's like, okay, if you wait until you're ready to get pregnant and you haven't regulated your hormones, again, it took me this long. Right. Start now. Right. And so that when you're ready, you know what I'm saying? Going back to your story, right? And not saying that, you know, you have any type of hormonal imbalance, but going back to your story, you've been trying for a number of years. And so if they put themselves in your shoes, that's right. You know what I'm saying? If they wait until they're ready, they may have to go through a time period, you know what I'm saying?
Delay and of testing and all the things that you could have already probably taken care of.
And so we're just trying to encourage them. You know what I'm saying? Start now. Test now.
Take it seriously now.
That's not to say that there is something wrong. Right. But I just encourage people, even if you don't go to if you have the symptoms, go to the endocrinologist. But everyone should be testing at least at the gynecologist, testing those few hormones. That's right. And then if you're showing the symptoms, or if you go to the gynecologist and they test those couple of hormones and those are high, then go straight to the endocrinologist, I would say.
That's right. So you're coming from a preventative perspective, but you're also speaking to the people who notice things. They also need to go. But yeah, you don't have to see a symptom to go to the doctor. For sure. You should be checking up anyways.
For sure. Yeah. And it's becoming so common.
Yeah.
It's becoming so common. And somebody said, there was a statistic that said birth control became very popular in our time. And it's not a coincidence that infertility is so high in our time.
Wow.
And so, you know, we not the controversial queens, and so we won't go too deep into it.
Yeah.
But
that's some food for thought, though.
Right.
Okay.
And so we just want everybody to be prepared and to be ready.
And to be educated. Informed. Yeah.
Yeah. And to advocate for themselves. Because, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
But this was a really good episode. I couldn't wait for this episode.
I know. Yeah, it was a good one, though.
Yeah, because a lot of people are dealing with infertility issues. A lot of people are not informed. A lot of young people are not informed. And I think that a lot of young people that are in their early 20s are now seeing people that are our age dealing with infertility. And they're kind of looking like, whoa, what's going on?
What's that? Right.
And so hopefully after watching this episode, they're kind of like, okay, now I'm seeing like what could be going on. Now I kind of know what I should be doing.
Yeah. That's good, sis.
All right.
I enjoyed it.
Well, I think this is the month where there's 5 Sundays, right? So we should still have one more Sunday if I'm timing it correctly.
Okay.
In the month of March. We're coming up on Resurrection Sunday.
Yes, we are.
I hope everybody's preparing their hearts and their minds. I think we're going to do something special for Resurrection Sunday. We've got some up our sleeves. Something different.
Yeah. But we're excited about it. Yeah. We'll definitely see you until next time. Go ahead, man.
Right. Until next time. Most importantly for this battery.
That's right. Get in that Bible.